Last week, it was the final super sprint round of the season. Tonight, it's the final American round of the season. It's the 5th round in 6 weeks on American soil as we welcome you to Summit Point Raceway, or the Summit Point 160, the second last sprint round of the season, the third last round of the 2021 Season 3 campaign in the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. Nice to have you company wherever you're tuning in, all around Australia or indeed around the world on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Zach Caber, Matt Davis, JP with you. Welcome to Tuesday Night Motorsport from Summit Point. Of course, the third last round across the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. And what a night we are in for here. We've got a field of 25 getting ready to line up tonight. It could be dipping to 24 depending upon whether Bruce Tunnock actually has stayed in the server or not. We'll find out the information regarding that in just a moment. Critical point of the championship for the leader, Rehan Leonage, for Dylan Rudd on the comeback trail, for Brian Borg, who snatched a win last week, and for Sean Mcnamara, who doesn't want to let Rehan get away too much at all. Zach Caben in the chair, as I said earlier, with Matt Davis here alongside me. I'm actually coming to you from the heart of the top of town in Ipswich, from the West Bremer Radio Studios tonight. An away trip, a little field excursion for me. But Matt Davis is in the usual saddle, ready to go down there in the lovely part of the world that is Victoria. And we'll get to him in just a moment. First up, let's have a look at the championship standings as we venture into this round, because, by gee, it's one hell of a fight. And, of course, we need to remember that we won't know exactly how this plays out until December 12th, because it's a double points round when we get to that world-famous mountain, Mount Panorama, for the grand finale in the Goodyear Autocare Warana 1000. It's Rehan Leonage on top, 11.74 plays. Sean Mcnamara, 11.48, 26th the margin. Jamie Dyke on 11.20. Dylan Rudd charging home with a wet sail. But look at that margin. It's 145 points. So now he's got it within a round. That's great. But at this point, he still needs Rehan, even Jamie Dyke, to have an absolute shocker when we get to the mountain to erase that deficit, or a shocker before getting to the mountain. And, of course, bearing in mind as well, if Sean Mcnamara has a good run the next 2 weeks, they're teaming up on December 12th. So it looks like it'll be a case of Dylan Rudd helping Sean Mcnamara, not Sean Mcnamara helping Dylan Rudd. Blake Delaney, 9.95, 9.82 for Rainer Costello, 9.51 for Brian Borg, 9.40 for Dean Alessi, David Kirby on 9.37, and Craig Schultz on 9.27. Make up the top 10. We'll let that scroll through for you. Find out where your favourite driver is situated at this point in time. I think he's ready. I think we can bring him in just a moment in Matt Davis, as we say good evening to you, mate. The voice of the Goodyear of the DSL Welding, Super 2 E-Series. And I say that because Goodyear Autocare Warana was a naming rights sponsor of the Super 2 E-Series earlier in the year.
Was.
It's easy to get mixed up. Matt Davis, good evening to you. 51 laps ahead of us tonight on a track that isn't everybody's favourite, but it should throw the cat amongst the pigeons, spice things up, and keep us on our toes.
Big good evening to you, Zach Caben, JP, and everybody watching at home and all around the world. Summit Point Raceway. You'd almost think it's a go-kart track. And we are slamming 650 horsepower V8 supercars, 25 of them to be exactly precise. And we're going to be sending them around 51 laps of this grueling circuit. Lap traffic, big one to take note of, Zach Caben. Very big one to take note of. Such a short circuit. And we're going to be looking at, what are we at? Minute 8 a lap around here tonight. So
it'll be a fast one.
It's going to be a very fast one. I'm going to tip, if we go safety car free, which I have a feeling, I'll put my phone on silent while it goes off. That's one thing I never did. I'm going to tip there could be a safety car or two tonight, being that the track is so tight and that these cars are extremely hard to try and actually overcome around this circuit.
One thing I didn't confirm before we got on air, before we got on air, I should say, is whether we got a hot lap or not. So I'll just get my producer to let me know in my ear whether we have or not. Yep,
we got one.
Indeed. So therefore,
play the Ghostbuster tune.
Exactly. We've already been talking about how tight and tricky and narrow this track is. Let's illustrate it with JP and the hot lap of Summit Point for you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. This track is absolute screamer. I love this track. A lot of drivers don't, but as usual, that all-important run off the last corner, go through the gears, get the car up to close to 265 kilometres an hour before you stop on the brakes there, shifting down into second gear, trailing the brake through the corner, straighten the wheel up and get a nice clean exit out of turn one. On we go through here. Take as much track as you possibly can. Cut this corner a little bit. Now, I just went a little bit too far out on the dirt, but I thought, what the hell, I'm going to keep this going. Keep the boot in there. I like to use as much track as I possibly can now. Straighten the car up on the brakes, trail the brakes as I turn in. Short shift to second gear. That way I can use the throttle a lot quicker. On and off the throttle to help the car turn here. On the throttle again, full power. Short shift into fourth gear. Nice early turn in for this corner. And now we're on the power again, going to the last turn. Now I shift down into fourth gear, going into the last turn. Slight trail of the brake to help the car rotate. And that effectively is one hot lap of the Summit Point Raceway.
Very nicely done, JP. Some of your best work, my friend.
He's almost competing with me on those ones.
I was going to say, the Carnacross, as it were, very nice work from JP there to keep the boot into it and keep going. Hey, you would have thought we didn't pre-rehearse that. Hey,
Exactly right.
let's talk about race information now, and then there's a couple of things out of those hot laps that we should have a discussion
Definitely.
about as well, Matt Davis. But here's the race information for you, ladies and gentlemen. On a Tuesday night, 3.19 kilometre circuit, 51 laps, 162.7 kilometres. Tell you what, you think that's a lot of hard work for these guys. They've got 1,000 coming up in only 19 days' time. It's coming around real quick here. The Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1,000. 72 kilometres along pit lane, which is a strange number, but that's iRacing for you. 50-litre fuel restriction for these cars tonight. 2 pit stops. And we look at the fuel burn, 2.5 litres a lap. That makes the mathematics of it relatively simple. 20 laps to a tank if you're going full tilt along the way. Fuel saving might become an issue if we get safety cars, and we've already discussed the probability of that. Very, very high. But let's call it as it is. 2.5 litres a lap, 20 laps to a tank gets you to the 50 litres. And therefore, we're calling the critical lap 31. 2 sets tyre limit as well. So that's the set they start on and the set they opt to take in whichever pit stop they place, the first or the second. 23rd of November race date, race start, 12 o'clock. Now, I'm not exactly sure whereabouts Summit Point is situated in the United States there, so I can't give you an exact comparison as to where it would be tomorrow morning our time if that were the case. But we'll work on that as the night unfolds. The air temp, 30 degrees, nice warm one. 33 track temp. That doesn't make sense either, only because I love iRacing because nothing makes sense. The fact of the matter is they're heading towards winter over there, so it's a bit like when they have a 25-degree day in Bathurst in the middle of May. It just doesn't make sense. 15 kilometre an hour westerly winds there for you. So let's talk about a couple of things here, Matt Davis, and then we'll have a quick look at the qualifying results. We're only about a minute away from cars joining us on the grid here. Going to be notoriously hard to overtake tonight. Turn 1, turn 3, and probably the last turn as well are your best overtaking opportunities. And that critical lap of 31, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a few cars opt to take their second stop there, get on that fresh set of tyres, and try and find some clear air, because even though it's a smaller field tonight, trying to find some clear air, get out of traffic and avoid, lap traffic and getting held up and getting balked and all those sorts of things, not going to be easy tonight.
No, definitely not. And just to clarify this one as well for the ladies and gentlemen watching at home, we keep thinking it's the UK. It's actually Jefferson County in West Virginia, USA for Summit Point Raceway.
So West Virginia. Okay,
West
gotcha.
Virginia. So we're still in the United States loop, Zach Cave, and we haven't gotten out of it yet.
Yeah, absolutely. No, Donington next week is the UK round. That's right.
That's right. So we've had an extremely long stint, but lap traffic, big one tonight. Sean Mcnamara made mention of it during the week in the RSRA Discord channel. And said it was going to be an absolute screamer to try and get around lap traffic tonight. Luckily, a little bit of a smaller field than what we usually see on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night motorsport. But definitely going to be a big one. Fuel numbers, going to be hard. There's not that many long straights to really tuck in under that AEST cave and try and get that slipstream, try and get that fuel saving mode. They might be able to roll off a little bit more. As we can see, there's a little bit of undulation, a little bit of uphill, a little bit of downhill. Might be able to button off just a little bit, clutch in, save a little bit of fuel. Safety car. If they get the safety car, watch those fuel numbers extend out a little bit. And if we get it at the right time, watch for maybe if they can get it under a 1.5 stop, if I'd like to call it.
Copy that. Hey, we're about to be joined by cars on grid here. Lee Davis was having a fair crack in the safety car too. Even though Rehan Leonage clocked a 108, he got round there in a 118. There would be nothing worse than crashing the safety car before the start of the race. But thankfully, he wound it up and only went at about 90%. So good to see there. Rehan Leonage, Dylan Wright on the front row, Brian Borg, Sean Mcnamara the second, Jamie Dyke, Dylan Pereira the third, Michael Angus, David Coleman the fourth, Ben Morris, Jared Bailey the fifth, Matthew Scholes and Justin Pennefather the sixth.
7th row, Dean Reddit, Hayden Norris, and then we've got 8th row, David Kirby, Jamie Davis. 9th row, we'll see Craig Schultz, David Nash leaving together. 10th row, we'll see Robert Crusdale and Brian Good line up next to each other. Chris Barnes, Dean Alessi round out row 11, and row 12 is rounded out by Rick Sibra and Lindsay Hobbs. And that is the field for tonight. Before we go racing as well as that,
yes,
I know the ladies and gentlemen off air can't see, but the colourful air has come back, so the donations are still coming.
We will get back to that a little bit later on. Tuesday Night Motorsports, Summit Point, final US round of the season. Let's go! Great start from Dylan Rudd. Up alongside Rehan Leonage, but Rehan Leonage has the inside running as they head down towards turn 1. Look at the flying start from Brian Borg as well, trying to tuck in and get the toe from Rudd. They make it to the corner. Leonage edges Rudd out, takes up the early running. Nice start, clean conversion, clean getaway, and everybody safely through, which is more than we can say for some races we've seen around Summit Point in the past. That is an electric start from Rehan Leonage. Dylan Rudd won't like being on the back foot, but there's still plenty of time to come. Jamie Dyke's off the course at the back as well. Jamie Dyke is right down at the back of the field, and that has championship implications with regards to his presence with relation to Dylan Rudd at the moment. We know he's third in the fight, but we know that Rudd is charging hard. That's a difficult start for Jamie Dyke.
Very, very difficult start for Jamie Dyke. We'll see if we can get a replay, find out what exactly happened to him, but that's going to hurt him big time in the run of the championship. Leonage just off track a little bit. That's going to allow Rudd a tiny bit of a run into the final corner. Very deep on brakes goes Rudd, trying to get his maximum drive out of the final corner to chase down Leonage. They start lap 2 of 51, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to be action-packed from right now to the end.
And look at Rehan Leonage already trying to defend the inside and saying to Dylan Rudd, if you want to pass me, son, go the hard way round. The youngster not making it easy, but look at this. Rudd's up alongside as they head down towards turn 3. Rudd's going to have an opportunity to displace the championship leader here, and he couldn't.
Around the outside.
What about the courage from the youngster? And it's only lap 2. Championship defining moments right here in the early stages, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you what, this guy has impressed beyond recognition throughout the course of the season, and that might just be the most aggressive moment we've seen from him to this point, making it so difficult, going toe-to-toe and punch for punch with the championship leader. Really good stuff from Rehan Leonage. Brian Borg's latched onto the back of this fight. Sean Mcnamara and Michael Angus not too far away. Michael Angus, a great start. With 2 positions gained, so too Benny Morris, so too Justin Pennefather. Unfortunately, the big loser, Jamie Dyke, down 19 positions.
What a move by Leonage that came in around the outside of. And that just goes, so I reckon it's the fight for him now. He got the qualifying. If he can't get the qualifying, he's going to play clean races. If he can get the front row, if he can get the top spot in qualifying, he's going to go hell for leather. But if he gets beat midway through the race, watch for Leonage, I reckon, just to play it safe. Try and keep those off tracks to a minimum, at least 0. He needs those bonus points. Just remember, if he places third, still gets 5 bonus points, he's still going to take out the night.
Exactly, and he's already got one to his name after claiming pole position as well. Rehan
There we
Leonard
go.
from that championship lead. I think we were saying it was 26 coming into the round. It's now 27 for the rest of the pack. And inch by inch, I'll speak in inches because we're in the United States, it's getting more difficult for everybody to catch him at this point in time. Rehan Leonard, the leader and the fastest lap of the race, 109.24. They then stretch they flex their muscle, they stretch their legs down the back onto the main straight again. Lap 4 of 51, and again Leonard defending the inside line, but he chose that line from the outset, so race control won't have a problem with that. They'll only have a problem if he starts to crisscross at any point during the night. Dirt kicked up there by Dylan Rudd on the exit of 2. And then Brian Borg tucking in behind. Incredibly tight, packed action group here at the front end of town. Really good to watch in the early stages. One slip up here, you're toast.
Good run, fastest lap of the race, 109.09 now, Zach Kamen. Brian Borg right up on the back bumper of Dylan Rudd. He's really going to start challenging for second place. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't want to go anywhere. Our timing boards, if you click on the link in the description, will bring up the SDK live timing. That'll show you exactly what Zach Kamen and myself are looking at right now. And it is red and yellow from the top to the bottom. It is action-packed. We're only lap 4, about to start lap 5. The laps are going to tick over in a blink of an eye. You don't want to miss out on this one. Onto the main straight again they come. These are flying. Zach Kamen.
They certainly are. 4 in the book and 47 to go. I'm interested what the track limit ruling there is at turn 11, because you saw quite a few drivers from the onboard shot here with Brian Borg riding on the other side of that red and white ripple strip beyond the track limits there, the yellow line. So we'll wait and see. That might be reflected in the incident point count at the end of the night. And we've got to be mindful of incident points as well. I think penalty points from iRacing can start being applied at 16x and then every 9x thereafter. So be mindful of that as well, ladies and gentlemen. These guys have got to be on their best behaviour tonight. Jamie Dyke's already not got a clean race coming his way. We still haven't seen what happened to him at the top end of town, but have a look at this. Rehan Leonard just edging clear. It's by no means enough to be comfortable, but he's put a little bit of a buffer, 2 car lengths maybe, between himself and Dylan Rudd. Brian Borg sits 3rd, and look at Sean Mcnamara hovering like a bad smell there in 4th at this point in time, and I mean that in the nicest possible way as they head onto the main straight. Michael Angus is the next car through the start of that next battle pack, and here again, Dylan Rudd up around the outside of Rehan Leonard to turn 1. I think we've worked out already, certainly Dylan Rudd has, that this is going to be Leonard's game plan, at least for the opening stint, Matt Davis. Hug the inside line at turn 1. That's the most legitimate overtaking opportunity on the circuit. He's going to make it as difficult as he possibly can for anyone to find a way by.
Or even if he does hug that inside line, Zach Kamen, he's still getting the better drive out of turn 1 and into through turn 2 and then into 3. So Rudd catches him about this point of the circuit right now, and he will hug him for the rest of the track. Leonard gets a better drive out of the final corner. As we see Pereira on Angus right now, juking it out right here, and then there's a bit of a gap towards Mcnamara just in front of these two. And I think Leonard's just got the better drive tonight by looks at the car. Looks to be squatting nice. It wiggles a bit in the back end, but it's not wanting to step out. It seems planted. So I think Leonard has really got the setup dialed in tonight for Summit Point Raceway. And it's currently Leonard, Rudd, Borg, Mcnamara, Angus, Pereira, Morris, Coleman, Bailey, and then Justin Pennefather rounding out the top 10. Something's happened to Jamie Davis as well at some point in the past 6 or 5, 6 laps. We hear that it may have been a little bit of an accident, and just behind him is Jamie Dyke as well, trying to make amends.
Yeah, and Jamie's still at the back end of town, and that is not what you'd expect to be saying, but that again illustrates just how difficult overtaking is going to be tonight. Someone of Jamie Dyke's pace, either he's battling with a little bit of damage and hoping that he gets a safety car to try and get in and take some repair time, or he's just genuinely finding it difficult to find his way back through the field. And that has implications within the battle for 3rd in the championship with Dylan Rudd and himself at this point in time. We know Rudd is 145 points away, I think it was at the top of the broadcast, 146 now after qualifying to Rehan Leonard. but he can still edge his way up the order if Jamie Dyke continues to have an absolute shocker. I mean, Jamie's going to be helped by the fact that we've got not as many cars on the grid tonight, but still, it won't sit well with him to be that far down the order, this far into the race. We're on lap 8 now. Let's have a look at some replays here for you. And this is the Jamie Davis incident, and potentially here caught up with, oh no, he did it all on his own. I was going to say it looked like he might have got caught up with Craig Schultz, but no, he did it all on his own. A slide and spin, but no damage to the car, and he can continue on unimpeded. But that was Jamie Dyke actually at the back, a shot coming on through. So Dyke's the next, Dyke has now actually got past Jamie Davis, I should point out, on our timing screen here. Dyke now sitting in 23rd, Davis back to 24th. Still a long way back for Jamie Dyke from this point. But what about Rehan Leonage? Front end of town, lap 8 in the books almost. He continues to lead. 2 car lengths back to Dylan Rudd. Then another couple back to Brian Borg, and then Sean Mcnamara. Now, what's going to be interesting here is if at any point these guys start to flex their muscle, get their elbows out and chop into positions and try and, spice things up. And speaking of which, have a look at this. Brian Borg now in defence mode on Sean Mcnamara. But if they keep that up, how long is it going to be before Angus, Herrera, Morris, Coleman are all of a sudden sitting right on the bumper of Sean Mcnamara? Don't move a muscle, ladies and gentlemen. Strap yourself in, buckle up. This is on in earnest in the early stages at Summit Point, and it's been great racing thus far. And clean, Matt Davis. We get through to almost the first sixth of the race completed in the book, and no safety car thus far.
Very, very clean racing. I've just been doing a little bit of observation there, Zach Coben, and watching the lines that Leonage is taking over Dylan Rudd. Now, we know these two are duking, aren't in the big battle for the championship. I mean, there is, Dylan Rudd can still take it if Mcnamara, Dyke or Leonage have a really, really bad next 2 weeks, especially at Bathurst coming into double points round. But it's still on in the championship between Leonage and Mcnamara, though, very, very close. And I've been studying Leonage's lines through turns 6, 7, 8, and 9. Look at the lines he takes over Dylan Rudd. You can see the gap that he's pulling over him. He takes a bit of a tighter line here and a bit of a wider line there. He starts off wide, gets a better drive than what Rudd does, pulled in tight through 6 and 7, and can really fire it down towards 8 and 9, and then get the run onto the back straight for 10. So just pay a bit of attention there as we're on board with the moment with Benny Morris. He's looking onto the back bumper, and the battle going on between Pereira and Angus at the moment as well, ladies and gentlemen. And even though that it looks like to be stretched out, it is still red and yellow on our timing screens. And this is probably one of the closest races we're going to be having all season.
Yeah, about 75% of that leaderboard remains orange or yellow at this point in time.
I'm going to go 90, Zach Caven.
Yeah, there's a few white numbers starting to open up there. In fact, there's 6 in white. So that would say in a field of 24, 12, 18, 24. It is 75% at the moment. I'll take that 90 and raise you as they make their way back around onto the main straight. Next time by, it will be the end of lap 10 for these guys. And on to lap 11 they go. So you're watching that battle pack further down the order at this point. You've got David Kirby there behind David Nash, followed by Craig Schultz and Dean Alessi, making up 15th, 16th, 17th and 18th at this point in time. Kirby in the 307 doing a nice job, but he would be a little bit disappointed to be that far down the order given the run that he had last week, and it was a good showing from David Kirby at Road America. Now through we go once more. Leonage, Rudd, Borg, Mcnamara and Angus. And I think I just heard the call in my ear to crank up the volume, so why don't we do that at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen. We'll go for a ride with the race leader. It's Rehan Leonage. We're midway through the opening stint. We're on our way to lap 20. That's the critical number in the first round of pit stops. Let's go for a ride with the championship leader. first sign of any real aggression from Dylan Rudd last time by. You're going to see it on replay in just a moment, folks. And now look at them. Rudd, Borg, Mcnamara, all ganging up on Rehan Leonage, but he's withstanding the pressure of the youngster at the moment, despite getting the big hurry up from Dylan Rudd, the defending champion. The current championship leader against the defending champion against last week's race winner at Road America, Brian Borg. How good's this been? This was the replay. Once we cranked up the volume, you would have got a good look at Dylan Rudd's front end on the left-hand side of screen. That's how close he was to putting on an overtaking manoeuvre and taking the lead away from the championship leader. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to capitalise, but when you're trying to take all the momentum around the outside there, Matt Davison, hold it up towards turn 3, it's easier said than done, even for someone as talented as Rudd.
Oh, it definitely is, and what a move by Rudd that was. Just tried to squeeze Leonage around the outside. Leonage just opened up the steering a little bit, surprised Rudd, and Rudd just had to quickly back out of it because he knew he was going to run out of racing room very, very quickly, considering the speed that they do carry through on turn 1. But that almost allowed Borg to get up on the inside, or around the outside, sorry, to come through on turn 3. We saw Leonage get around. Oh, Rudd again dives to the outside.
The switchback, can he get it done?
No.
So, yeah.
Leonage, as I said earlier, Leonage just gets that drive out of the corner, but it almost allowed Borg a couple laps earlier to get that run around the outside like Leonage did on Rudd. Pereira and Angus. Pereira gets Angus by the looks of it. The inside of turn 1, ladies and gentlemen. Puts the nose up in there. Angus gives him room. Pereira through without too much of a fight. Does this go on to turn 3 though? That was the question.
No is the answer.
It might not have.
Pereira's covered him off and held on to 5th position rather nicely. Now, as for this top 4 battle here, Matt Davis, what was interesting last time by, everyone went to the inside except Sean Mcnamara. He went to the outside first. Rudd and also Borg followed not too long after. Let's have another look this time by. Leonage immediately across to the inside. Rudd trying to get the toe. Mcnamara now follows in tandem as they head down the hill towards turn 1. And then Rudd's the last one to move out. Rudd's got to run this time. Rudd around the outside, but again, can he hold it when they get through 1 and 2? Borg's in there wanting a piece of the action. Oh, can you believe that?
Protected.
That's a championship defining moment right there. Sean Mcnamara, Dylan Pereira, Michael Angus, then Dylan Rudd. He's lost 4 positions in all of that. And all of a sudden, the championship's been thrown wide open. And this is advantage Sean Mcnamara as we have another look on replay. Oh, boy. You can sense that Dylan Rudd was getting impatient. You can sense that he wanted to make a move. Let's see how it went wrong. So here is how it unfolded on the run down towards turn 1. Rudd went to the outside. He'd been doing that for 3 or 4 laps, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching it in slow-mo. Now, there's going to be a wheel tangle at some point here, Matt.
There is. Rudd had him on the brakes around the outside. This is going to give us good view. He had a double take of the steering, neck and neck.
So Leonage still under there and still in front. He's still got his nose in front. Let's have a look at this on the exit.
So they've had a bit of a rub mid-corner.
There.
There's
the
right little tag, and then had nowhere to go.
And because of the nature of Summit Point, if you reach a certain point off the circuit, iRacing immediately just sends you back to pit lane. You're on the tow rope.
Correct.
That is a hugely costly moment for Rehan Leonage, and race control have some decisions to make with regards to Dylan Rudd and his involvement in that. Oh boy, talk about moments in championships. We were talking about the drive that Rehan Leonage was putting in as the race leader and how he just managed to, find an extra gear in the aggression stakes, and that's something we always thought he needed. Unfortunately tonight, it's brought him unstuck. He was holding his own so beautifully. One touch and it all changes. And now Sean Mcnamara is just sitting there licking his lips, ladies and gentlemen, because he knows that even if he finishes second, he will be the championship leader when we get out of Summit Point tonight and head to Donington Park. Remembering, of course, we go from here to Europe, one last round in Great Britain, then on to the mountain. And this is our second last race night, Tuesday Night Motorsport for the season, because when we rejoin you on the 7th of December, it will be for qualifying the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000. Look up from Brian Borg. Sean Mcnamara side by side. Borg's going to have the inside running for the next corner, and that's probably the only reason he's still holding the lead. That was a slight opportunity for Mcnamara, but Borg was in a position to be able to cover him off just by virtue of the fact that he had a right-hander coming up, not a left-hander. If that was a left-hander, Matt Davis, the 951 would be the race leader. That was a big moment from Borg, his first slip-up of the night. The pressure's building, isn't it?
It is building. At Summit Point's really turning it on. It's pushing the drivers to a new limit, being such a tight track, really testing their capabilities tonight. Mcnamara wanting to get past Borg, trying to maximise as much as he can, now knowing that Leonage is a lap down. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a minute 9 a lap. Towing is about, I'm going to say, roughly 2 minutes. Leonage was in pits for 2:09, so yeah, let's call roughly 2 minutes of towing out of pit lane, puts Leonage a lap down, and it's really going to cost Leonage right now. Mcnamara's got to get the move on Borg to try and capitalise that lead that he's going to be getting tonight, and he might be looking at his second championship in what was formerly known as the Nationwide Tracking Systems, now known as the RSRA SuperSeries.
And this is something we mentioned last week, wasn't it? I mean, we mentioned that Sean Mcnamara is building to something special, and all of a sudden, it's almost as though the seas have parted so beautifully for him, and he's the one that's swimming upstream. Have a look at this. On the outside of Brian Borg. Is this the move for the lead from Sean Mcnamara? We're on lap 19. We're getting so close to the opening round of pit stops. Brian Borg holds onto the lead for the moment as they head through turn 2. The run up towards turn 3. Mcnamara can sit there. He can be patient. He doesn't have to get involved with Brian Borg. He knows that Borg's not a threat as far as the championship's concerned. That's Rehan Leonage. He's out of business as far as tonight is concerned. He's a lap down. However, Matt Davis, he will do his level best to fight his way back. If we get a safety car, he might get lucky. He might be able to tweak things strategically speaking. Of course, that pit stop being on lap 15, he only has to stop once more and get home from there. I don't know what they would have played at in that pit stop, what their options would have been on the tow rope to get back out on the racetrack. Rehan Leonage, the good news is, in a very otherwise bad situation, he only has to stop once more. It's not as though it's going to cost him an extra pit stop somewhere down the track. So that's good news, I guess.
It is good news. I believe he may have even taken a pit stop when he got the tow. So it could play into Leonage's hand, but he needs that safety car. And it can all happen. If you get a blown motor, we see the boys driving down deep on the brakes. They're downshifting early to try and get the car pulled up. That's putting the car on rev limiter. Put that on rev limiter one too many times, you're going to have the you're going to be having the engine blow up on you any moment. So they're really going to be pushing it tonight. They're pushing it to the absolute limit week in, week out. But tonight we may be seeing a blown motor come out of nowhere. You're just going to have to watch and see.
Well, that's exactly right. It has happened to Dylan Pereira, among others, already this season. Now, on that note, top 13 yet to stop. Michael Angus, David Kirby, Matthew Scholes, Dean Alessi, Hayden Norris, Robert Krisdar, Rick Sebra, Jamie Davis, Brian Good, Chris Barnes, and Rehan Leonage have all been in to stop. The good news, despite the drama at the front of the field between the defending champion and the current championship leader, as we see the leaders make their way into pit lane, is that we have had no retirements thus far here at Summit Point, and I think a few of us are a little bit surprised by that. Dylan Pereira has continued on for lap 20, as has Jared Bailey, but Brian Borg leads the charge to pit lane at the end of lap 20, and we mentioned that was the critical number. So there's been a little bit of fuel saving go on from Dylan Pereira and also Jared Bailey. It's a week out of 21st lap here, and that goes back to what you were saying, Matt Davis, about if we get a safety car, they can save a couple of laps of fuel potentially, and then all of a sudden you're looking at a splash and dash to the checkered flag instead of a half pit stop, as you called it. And you're absolutely right, because if you want to stop now, it's a full pit stop. If you want to stop on lap 31 and fuel up, it's a full pit stop, with the exception of you won't be putting as much fuel into the tank. If you want to stop at lap 40 and run the tank to empty twice, well, again, you've only got to take on a handful of laps of fuel. You can forget the full tank. It might be, 3/5 of a tank rather than a full tank. And remembering, of course, you've got to be mindful of, even though you want to factor in the calculations of the possibility of a safety car, you need to factor in the equation of trying to get home on that cool-down lap and not costing yourself 3 spots after the fact. Now, Sean Mcnamara has been able to leapfrog Brian Borg. He was 7 tenths quicker in pit lane, and that's been enough to put him in the lead of this race. So Sean Mcnamara, the guy that dominated on the streets of Long Beach earlier in the season, finds himself at the head of the field, and I bet he wasn't expecting that 10 minutes ago.
Oh, McNamara's a fan of the tight, short circuits. Long Beach not being a short circuit, but he's still in run at the moment on Michael Angus.
Back up into 6th.
Back into 6th. He's getting the hurry on.
Now, critical to note here as well, Matt Davis, as we follow that battle. Coleman, Rudd, Angus, and I think that's Pettifeather in behind them as well. Big move there on the inside from Dylan Rudd, trying to displace Michael Angus, has successfully done so. Can he cover him off on the run to turn 3, or is Angus going to force the issue on the inside? We'll have a look at that in just a moment. Angus down the inside. Rudd's not done with here. He fights around the outside. Angus is gone. Michael Angus with a big one into the wall. And might not be the safety car we've been waiting for. This is a huge moment, and the second time tonight that we've seen Dylan Rudd in all sorts of trouble. Have a look at this. Have a look at this as they come through turn 3.
Oh no! That's second time for Rudd. That's steering damage for Angus. Can he limp it back to the pits?
Well, the fact that he's been able to continue on, Matt Davis, means that we won't get that safety car I teased a second ago. But let's have another look at it. Pettifeather was in there behind them. Now, Michael Angus has been able to resume. He's plummeted down the order to 14th. Have a look at this. Now, I think Rudd's caught the ripple strip here, and that sent him across left. Yep, he's on that ripple strip. You can see it. And then left he goes. Now, was there movement in the steering wheel? No. That's a strange one. Race control again for the second time tonight. They've got a little bit of work to do. Now, Dylan Pereira is off the circuit. And he's dropping down the order. That's trouble for Dylan Pereira.
Oh! Is that safety car you were talking about, Zach Cameron? He's not moving.
Not yet, at least. We'll wait. We'll give him an opportunity. We'll wait to see what race control want to do here. Let's have a look at what happened. Firstly, on replay, for Dylan Pereira. Oh, no.
There goes the motor.
Engine. There goes
the motor.
For the second time this season, Dylan Pereira's engine expires, and that will now definitely be a safety car, and that shakes things up completely. Now, before that, I was going to make the point that he and Jared Bailey short-fueled on that first round of pit stops, gave themselves track position. They were first and second. Pereira was the race leader. They were setting it up for a full fuel at around lap 31 there to get themselves home. Now we've got a safety car, and that changes everything.
And look at Leonage. Leonage was in the pits from what I saw. I believe I saw Leonage jump in or have a pit sign come up in his timing board. This is going to allow Leonage to get back in the race. He's already back on the lead lap as well, Zach Caben.
Yeah. Yep, that is huge for Rehan Leonage.
Is on the lead lap now, so this is going to be big. What do the drivers do? Do they sit behind the safety car?
Well, there is the safety car. It's about to join us on the racetrack, but yeah.
This is big.
What a night to be in the chair. I'm in the office at work, at my other work, and it's one of those situations where you're glad you turned up. This has been well worth the price of admission to this point. We're only at half race distance. What has the second half got in store for us? Jared Bailey into pit lane now. Now that's interesting. Is he going the full fuel here and then going to try and save fuel to get himself home?
Well, he did the short stint.
It's odd that he's come in this early.
He short filled already, so I think he's just going to top the tank up.
Yeah.
a little bit.
Or
What
is he banking
Leonage
on another
does
safety
here,
car, Matt?
or maybe it's my biggest concern right now is what's Leonage going to do? He's stayed out by the looks of it. He has stayed out. So this is big. This is very, very big right now. So no one's come into the pits to try and to get that extra couple seconds of fuel, because this could, if they came in to fuel now, you could save maybe 2 laps.
Yeah, and
my calculations are correct in my head.
You'd have to save 6. That's the problem.
Correct.
That
you
is the
save
problem.
2, but then you can come in and take a shorter stop at the end.
Now,
A very short stop, mind you.
You said this is big. To quote a not so recently passed Australian commentator, this is huge.
It's
God
very
rest his
huge.
soul, Darrell Eastlake. 25 of 51, my goodness gracious me. The drama of this round of the championship, we kind of knew that Summit Point had the potential to be that seesaw round, that defining and changing moment of the season. And for Rehan Leonage, it's been just that. For Jamie Dyke, it's been just that. And, well, God only knows how race control are going to view Dylan Rudd's involvement in 2 incidents thus far, not 1. We're just getting... Okay, we're just seeing the safety car come back round onto the main straight and take us around for another lap here. Whether this will be the last one or whether we'll have this M1 more remains to be seen. This certainly slows the race down a little bit, stretches it out to closer to that hour mark that we were waiting for. Matt Davis. Oh boy, what drama here at Summit Point Raceway. The tight nature of this circuit and the fact that we just bunched the field up, Matt Davis. Safety cars breed safety cars, as they say. Let's wait and see what unfolds here. Now, there's 2 things that I want to keep an eye on. Jamie Dyke is sitting down there in 23rd position. Dylan Pereira, 24th. We know Dylan's out of business. Forget about that. Jamie Dyke's still sitting last. Jamie Davis has come back onto the racetrack. Rehan Leonage is 21st. How far through the field can Rehan and Jamie push? We'll wait and see on that.
It's going to be hard.
Oh, absolutely. And that second stop for Jamie Dyke was 46 seconds. That explains why he's back behind Jamie Davis again. Not sure what's happened there for Jamie Dyke. Whether he's got a pit lane speeding and a stop and hold, whether he's taken those optionals for the repair. I was surprised, actually, Michael Angus. I'm just seeing he's still out there in 12th. So obviously, despite it being side-on contact, safety car lights are out. So we'll get back racing this time by. Obviously, the side-on contact with the wall hasn't had as big an effect on Angus as we might have first thought. I thought that was a big hit. It didn't turn out to be so. It was more the Dylan Pereira engine blow that caused the safety car. So we are past half race distance, 25.5 in the book, 25.5 to go. Strap yourself in, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Davis in the safety car back in pit lane. We're about to go back racing here at Summit Point. Sean Mcnamara has control of the field and he puts the foot to the floor. Let's go. Brian Borg in close pursuit. David Coleman having a great run there in 3rd. Dylan Rudd, Justin Pennefather, then David Kirby, Matthew Scholes, Hayden Norris, Ben Morris, and Dina Lassie making up the top 10. Here's Borg having a look on McNamara on the run to 1, but he's not close enough. Dylan Rudd, however, down on the inside, trying to displace David Coleman, and does so. So Rudd's up into 3rd and still a threat in this championship-defining round of the RSRA Super Series for Goodyear Autocare Warana. McNamara and Borg have bolted. How good's that? Great restart from all concerned. We were a little bit worried about the potential of a safety car breeding a safety car, but so far, fine and smooth from all and sundry as they head round to that hairpin at the back end of the circuit. The right-hander that takes them out of there. McNamara, Borg, Rudd, Coleman, Justin Pennefather having an amazing run there in 5th place as well.
A lot of big gainers so far, Zach Cabin.
Yeah.
Lots of positions gained from everybody throughout the field. Obviously, biggest losers tonight, Rehan Leonage after that unfortunate incident, Jamie Dyke, and also Dylan Pereira. Now, what's the big movers going to do at the end of the race? We've still got one more round of pit stops to undertake. coming to turn 1. The lap 28 of 51, ladies and gentlemen. Through turns 1 and 2 they come. Mcnamara with a good drive over Borg. Rudd trying to find redemption. Is there going to be team orders to protect a little bit if Rudd gets around Borg? Still got to wait and find out if he does get a drive-through penalty or not. He's been caught up in 2 incidences tonight as well as that, Kevin. So that's very big for Dylan Rudd. It's very unusual for him. Oh, there we go. Laps car 79 and car number 1, lap 15. Zach Caben. No further action classed as a racing incident.
Are you kidding me, guys? How much more do you need for an absolute penalty? And race control have called that an incident, mate. I'm seriously not happy about this one.
I'm a little bit surprised about that, to be honest with you, Matt Davis and JP. I know that's one of those incidents that, well, yeah, it could have gone either way. Let's be perfectly honest. But the fact that we have that little gremlin with Summit Point where you go too far off onto the grass, it just automatically boots you. That's more of an iRacing issue that needs to be sorted as well. We were only having a conversation before going on air here about iRacing, and if you'll pardon the French, doing things half-cocked. That's another one of those instances, unfortunately, and it's had implications with regards to this championship and championship-defining implications as well. I'm a little bit surprised it's been deemed a racing incident. I'll be interested to see what they say about the Michael Angus one now that they've finished reviewing that one. But
there we go.
Well, no further action on that one either.
205 and number 1.
You could describe that as a lucky escape for Dylan Rudd, couldn't you?
They're a lucky escape for him, but it angers me quite a lot. There's the Michael Angus Dylan Rudd incident. There was no steering action or input from Dylan Rudd. I think that was more Michael Angus coming over onto Rudd, having a little bit of wheel connection. Off goes Michael Angus. Now, the Leonage and Rudd incident, yes, it's big news, but it angers me quite a lot, and it's probably angered quite a lot of other people, a lot of our viewers as well as that, Kevin.
Hang on, hold that thought, Matt Davis. Have a look at right on the outside. Trying to get past Borg. Not going to be able to do it just yet. We'll follow that with interest. Go on with your point.
It angers me quite a lot. There's enough substantial evidence there to class that incident as Dylan Rudd's fault. Get a replay of it again. I'll be able to talk to viewers through it and exactly describe what happened there. But Leonard should have come over on Rudd. Rudd didn't. Can't see any steering from Rudd. And car 43, car contact on the 020, lap 28.
The 43
that's Ben Morris. That's Benny Morris.
That's our mate Benny Morris.
On Hayden Norris.
Now, earlier in the evening...
big slide by Borg!
Whoa, big moment there. And that's just going to give Dylan Rudd an opportunity. He's going to sense the chance to have a look down on the outside here at 1. And now Borg's doing what Leonard was doing earlier and trying to defend on the inside. He does so for the moment. The up and under, not on for Rudd at this point in time. Couple of comments coming in on social media. Waco 888, big shout out to David Coleman. Happy birthday. He's having a good run at the moment. We'll follow that with interest throughout the course of the evening. Then Paul Nichols as well from the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Good evening to you, good sir. Looking forward to your company on Friday night when we do some supercar racing of our own. But in the meantime, let's have a look at this again. This is the Dylan Rudd Leonage incident, Matt Davis. I want you to talk us through it.
So it was clear Rudd had him under brakes into turn 1 here. It's in slow-mo for you as well, ladies and gentlemen, so bear with me on this one. We might be able to get 2 grabs at this one, an inside shot of Rudd as well as the outside shot. The outside shot is clear as day. That's clear as day. Rudd goes to the outside here. Around the outside of Leonage. He's got him under brakes here, and he's in front. But then Leonage comes up on the inside, gets the nose up in front first. So technically, this is Leonage's corner.
Absolutely.
According to the rules, Leonage's corner. He's well up past the B pillar.
Line.
He's on the line to take the lead. If you have a look here, bang. Leonage floats a little bit. Rudd turns in. Right there. You can't see it behind the car of Borg, but you can see the front just pitch in slightly to tag the back bumper of Leonage. Leonage unfortunately gets ejected. If we get an in-car shot of Rudd here, it'd be an even better opportunity to see what exactly unfolded.
Yeah,
Let's get to the race for now, Zach Cabin.
Yeah,
Mcnamara is storming away by 1.7 seconds. Rudd is absolutely hounding Borg right now.
Yeah, and that's what I want to focus on. Let's analyse that incident in a little bit more detail. We can go all Supercars trackside if you like at the end of the race. And I'm not playing the role of Jess Yates, just quietly, as they come round onto the main straight. I'd like to think I can string the sentences together a little bit better. 32 of 51 as they head down the main straight. Sean Mcnamara, Brian Borg, David Coleman, Justin Pennefather, and David Kirby now the top five, and a heap of pit stops unfolding. Dylan Rudd, Matthew Scholes, Dina Lassie, Dane Rudder, Craig Schultz, Michael Angus, Rehan, Leonage, Chris Barnes, and Jamie Davis, also Hayden Norris as well, and David Nash. And why? They've just completed lap 32. They've reached that critical number. They can fuel up here and get home. And Rehan Leonage has already made his way back into, well, the top 15 by the time he brought it back into pit lane. So he has been charging hard tonight, and this is salvation, or a salvage effort at least from him from this point forward. But look at Sean Mcnamara. The world is just opening up for him at this point in time, and he has not put a foot wrong. And to be fair, we'll go back and analyse that Dylan Rudd incident. We can analyse it until Bathurst if we like. We've got enough time. But the fact of the matter is, drive-through penalty here as well for car 9, Jared Bailey.
David Nash.
Or contact on David Nash, and that was from a couple of laps ago. So race control have acted very swiftly on that one. No doubt they've spent a lot of time analysing the tape with regards to Leonage and Rudd. And I don't know whether Leonage has a foot to stand on with regards to appealing the decision with race control. We'll talk about all of that later. We might even try and get Jono in I was going to say, we'll try and get someone in to at least clarify the reason for the stance that they've taken on that. But we'll wait and see, because I dare say things are going to be a little bit heated tonight in our post-race show. That being said, Jamie Dyke, David Coleman, Justin Pennefather, and Rick Sibra all in pit lane. Dylan Pereira, the only retirement of the night thus far. We've got 23 drivers still circulating, and we have got 18 laps to go. We're on 34 of 51. Sean Mcnamara, Brian Borg, David Kirby, the top three. Second round of pit stops starting to unfold before our eyes. And it's just a case of how long Sean Mcnamara wants to stretch this now.
Yeah, I think Mcnamara, Borg, they're going to be going for that very, very long stint. Mcnamara's going for that long stint along with Borg into the pits. Mcnamara, one more lap. Mcnamara's going for the ultra long stint. He's trying to capitalise here over Borg. Borg's going to try and get the undercut over Mcnamara, but we know what Mcnamara is like in open, clean air, and he's got the car hooked up. That was quite clear. He was out to 1.8 seconds over Borg. At one point, Zach Gaben. David Kirby in the pits also. That'll round out or make Mcnamara, Hobbs and Morris the only one so far with one pit stop. The rest of the field has pitted.
All right, let's follow this for the moment. David Kirby into pit lane and out again. As Matt Davis has correctly pointed out, just the top three yet to complete their second pit stop here. Sean Mcnamara, well, you know, when it's smooth sailing like this, why would you bother? It's just a matter of he's in a position now. He's in an enviable position, as so many in this field tonight, Matt Davis, where he's calling the shots and he can write his own playbook from here. He can write his own script.
Oh, certainly he can. As he comes into the pits right now, we'll stay on board with that. Find out where Borg, Rudd's pipped Borg in the pits. So effectively, from what it is now, Rudd is currently sitting second place. And where are these two going to come out behind Mcnamara? That's going to be the question, Zach Cabin. And we're going to have to patiently find out, wait and see. But a big happy birthday to Dave Coleman. Hopefully he can join us in the booth later on. Wish him a big happy birthday. If not, David, mate, if you're watching the stream back, whether it be later tonight or tomorrow or even over the weekend with family and friends, big happy birthday to you, mate. And Mcnamara out. Hobbs and Morris have gone the extra lap. Hobbs and Morris have gone one extra lap. So they've got enough fuel on board to run the ultra long stint. Zach
Well,
Cabin.
well, actually, to be fair, when you look at where they stopped first time round, Matt Davis,
Yes.
Lindsay Hobbs, Benny Morris, 20. They could go another 2 or 3 laps from here if they wanted to. Add to that the potential
car.
of fuel save they had under safety car as well. They could
Correct.
stretch this out to mid-40s if they want to, I reckon. Whether they do or not remains to be seen. Whether they took tyres in the first stop or whether they're going to take tyres in the second, I want to actually gauge from Sean McNamara and Brian Borg tonight how much tyre wear has had an impact on race and strategy play as well, because that's always one of the talking points when we go racing in the RSRA SuperSeries for Goodyear Autocare Warana. Social media across our YouTube and Facebook platforms have it's just gone off the Richter scale with people having their say on the incident of the night, which we've been talking about for a while. G'day to Sheldon Hart, Will Jesberg, Lachlan Murphy. To answer your question, no, Rainer Costello not racing. He's, from all reports, he's saving himself for the big dance at the moment, knowing that he's not in championship contention. But the fact of the matter is that he's missing out on being involved in, well, one of the most defining races of the season. I mean, it doesn't matter which side of the fence you sit on, Matt Davis, and we try and be impartial here in the commentary box as best we can. That's our job. But to be fair, this is going to be one of those races that we talk about all year, all summer long.
Oh, definitely. It's Summit Point. Oh, there's a big moment on track there. One of the cars, I think that might have been Angus, might possibly. I'm trying to see who's there. I think that might have been Angus having a little bit of a moment through the sand trap there. He's still out on track, luckily enough, so he's managed to catch it. And Michael Angus with a big moment there through the sand trap. But Summit Point, it's one of the smallest tracks we've had this season. I think it's the smallest tracks we've had ever on the RSRA. And
yeah, it's one of them, certainly.
And Mcnamara goes 109.08, so fastest lap of the race by 0.01 100th of a second over his teammate Dylan Rudd. So Mcnamara on a mission right now to maximise this lead over Borg that he's got. Lindsay Hobbs still yet to pit. But no, being the smallest track of the season, the tightest track, the action is going to be fierce all race round. So I believe this will probably go down to history of the RSRA as probably one of the most action-packed races, no doubt.
Without doubt, and we've only had one safety car. I mean, correct. So when you think about
I reckon that's added to it as well. Yeah. That's added to the action as well. If it wasn't, I reckon if it wasn't for the safety car, I think it would have been a little bit more processional throughout the end of the race. But definitely, the safety car bunching the field back up, no matter if it's around Bathurst, if it's around Donington, or some of the other longer circuits on the iRacing platform. It's always going to make the action.
Here's one for you. 108.98, fastest lap of the motor race.
Qualifying.
On lap 35 for Sean McNamara. That's something we missed in amongst everything else that's going on out there at the moment. Lindsay Hobbs continues to lead this race. We know he's got a pit stop coming his way very shortly. McNamara's only 10 seconds behind, but the effective race leader. He's 1.1 clear of Borg, who's 1.1 clear of Rudd. So they've swapped around again. Crisdale, Scholes, Coleman having a great run. Lucky 7 at the moment. He'll be 6th effectively, depending upon where he slots in relation to Lindsay Hobbs, Dean Reddit, Justin Pennefather and Dean Alessi in the top 10 there as well. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow night for you, Matt Davis, being able to pick at the brain of Dean Reddit, our colleague here in the commentary box, is having a great run.
Yeah, no, definitely having a very good run tonight inside the top 10. And I think that might be almost one of the best runs of his season thus far. Up 5 positions from where he started, qualified P13. So it's going to be a very good broadcast tomorrow night for the Super 2 E-Series, brought to you by DSL Welding Services on the platforms of Supershed Broadcasting, ladies and gentlemen. So it'd be good to pick his brain a little bit, finally get an insight, an up-close insight of what it's like to tackle 51 laps around this tight little circuit.
So we continue to watch the race tick away here, and it's Sean McNamara the leader. It is Brian Borg second and Dylan Rudd third. That's on corrected order once Lindsay Hobbs comes in and completes his second round of pit stops. So even though we were expecting it to be Rehan Leonage and Dylan Rudd duking it out, we could never rule out Sean McNamara or Brian Borg, and it just so happened when the defending champion and the current championship leader came together, that was an opportunity for these guys to reap the reward, and they've certainly done that. McNamara found his way by Borg on strategy and strategy alone in pit lane, and at this point, it looks like he's going to grab another race win. He's enjoyed these American swing races, of course, winning the Triple Crown at Long Beach, another win lining up here at Summit Point as he heads onto the main straight. This will be 11 laps to go for Sean McNamara, and despite the safety car, it's gone by bloody quickly this race.
It has.
And we're looking forward to picking their brain in the post-race show, finding out their thoughts of the night that was. But in all of that, when you look at the fact that he's had 2 incidents, when you look at the fact that Race Control have leaned the way they have with their adjudication of the 2 incidents, this is a get-out-of-jail-free card and then some for Dylan Rudd, and it could just be enough to get him back in the top 3 hunt here, given that Jamie Dyke hasn't had the best night at the office. He has fought back to 11th, but Dyke's going to take a little snippet out of his deficit here at this point in time, and that's big.
That definitely is big. I mean, the biggest point for me is just Leonage. It's the unluckiness tonight for the Phoenix Racing team is big. Dylan Pereira blowing a motor. Leonage, I mean, it's having Pereira blow the motor helps Leonage a little bit get back on the lead lap. If it wasn't for that, I believe Leonage would have really felt the struggles tonight. Leonage is still going to get crucial points. He's not going to get the clean race, but it's only 1 point. But 1 point, we've seen it before, Zach Kamen, between Lassens, Leonage, Rainer Costello, 1 point could mean the difference of a championship. So, I mean, Rehan right now, he's just got to make up as many positions as he possibly can. He could potentially get into, he could try squeeze the top 10. He's got to get around Davis, Schultz, Sibber and Hobbs, and then try and fight Dyke for it. But Dyke's also going for championship points damage limitation as well. He's currently sitting 3rd. He doesn't want to give that up too much. Rudd's on the fight. McNamara, he's on the fight to take the lead, take a 2nd championship. So, I mean, we said that the top 5, that we have car 205, the contact on the 43. The 43 was on the receiving end of that one. That's Benny Morris. 205 would be Michael Angus.
Yeah,
so,
correct.
That could explain a little bit of the sand trap incident a bit earlier on. But McNamara's going for his 2nd championship. As I said a bit earlier on in the season, Zach Cable, when I did jump in, it's on for the top 6. Top 6 of the championship, it's on. And it's really coming alive right now. Double points round at the end of the season. You never know what's going to happen to McNamara and Rudd. Remember, those two are teaming up. If Rudd cops a penalty, or if McNamara cops a penalty, if one of them bows out and ends their race with an unfortunate incident, that could then hand the win back to Leonage. But Leonage has got to get a clean race. So, really, Leonage's focus right now, clean race next week, that's 5 points. Clean race in Bathurst, that's another 5 points. So
well, it's 10 points because of the double points factor. There's
correct.
Leonage carrying by Jamie Davis.
There we go. So 14th position for Rehan Leonage. So that's 15 points right there, and that could be that's where he is right now. There's 15 points between him and McNamara right now. So that's you know right. It's all about that. If you can get pole position, an extra point. Just remember though, Lachlan Murphy, Rainer Costello, defending Bathurst champions. Remember the lap of the gods by them.
It's funny that you mentioned that. It's funny that you mention that because Rainer's just been messaging me through Discord here. And good evening to the great man. There's 2 reasons. Well, apart from concentrating on the big one, for his absence, he just openly admitted he spends too much time racing GT3 cars today at this point in his sim racing career. And the other reason was he's actually away on work assignment with his dad this week. So
school holidays.
Well, actually, I was going to say it's not actually the point of school holidays, so I don't know how his teachers feel about that. But he's away working, so half his life.
I think he's in BCE now as well, so that could be another thing. BCE exams, they do finish up a little bit earlier than what most people do. So it's definitely, I believe it could be the the end of the school year for him right now.
Yeah, being year 10, actually, that's a good point. Yeah,
Yes.
correct, 10 points. Well done, Matt Davis. And the other point as well that he made, this has been quite the exciting race, so at least he's enjoying the...
Well, you're missing out, Rainer Costello, because this is your type of racing.
Absolutely. 100%. Now, we find our way back on lap 44 of 51, and a good battle here in the mid-pack, if you don't mind.
Skulls, Reddit, Pettifather, Alessi,
Correct.
and Dyke. Then it's only 2.5 seconds back to Sebra. Then Hobbs, Schultz, and Leonage.
There
So
they are.
that's almost 10 cars in the fight there. It's 8 in total.
And if you're Leonage, you're looking at Schultz, you're looking at Hobbs, you're looking at Sebra as collateral. You want to get past them. You want to be able to have a crack at Jamie Dyke before the end of this race. However, the problem is the gap between Dyke and Sebra, 2.6 seconds. So probably you just want to get by Schultz, Hobbs, and Sebra and consolidate 11th. Not the way he would have envisaged tonight playing out. Not the way
What a
any of us
fight
envisaged it, but this is a great fight back if he can get back to at least 11th. And who knows what happens at the top end of town? Does someone's engine blow up? Does someone crash between now and the end of the race? There's still so much to play out here at Summit Point, even though we've only got 6.25 laps to go. Mcnamara the leader. Borg, Rudd, Crisdale, Coleman, Scholes, Reddit, Pennefather, Alessi, and Dyke. Great fight back also from Jamie Dyke. We still haven't seen what happened to him on lap 1, but has made his way back into the top 10, helped no doubt by the safety car, but he's also on a 3-stop strategy as well, Matt Davis. Robert Crisdale in pit lane on that note. So I'm not sure what the reason for this stop is, but it's certainly unshadowed for Robert Crisdale. He was in 4th. He's in the box. He's no doubt getting a top up of fuel, and away he goes. And Matthew Scholes off the track on that note right now. So he's put a wheel in the dirt, and Jamie Dyke in all of that has moved up to P8. So he's inside the top 10. Leonage up to 13. No doubt he's going to look at Schultz, Hobbs, and Sebra as an opportunity to get himself back to 10.
Oh, he's having a look at Schultz. He's got a look at Schultz. He's up the inside. Done. Can Schultz get around the outside though? No, he doesn't put on too much of a fight.
Move across, cover it off. Well done, Rehan. Well done, young man. He's got his race pace on. He's switched on as this young man, and now the next target is Lindsay Hobbs and then Rick Sebra. What a fight back this would be if he could get Sebra and Hobbs, and he's even a chance of getting Matty Scholes now as well. So it could be 9th all of a sudden. We're talking about 11th being best case scenario a moment ago. It's now 9th for Rehan Leonage, and that again helps him out with regards to the championship, because Sean McNamara, if it's eight positions the difference, he can only take 16 points out of the deficit. So therefore, or the advantage that Rehan enjoys in the deficit that he currently has. So, therefore, Rehan would still leave here as the championship leader, and that wasn't looking likely about half an hour ago. This is extraordinary stuff. It's ebbing and flowing. It's got more drama in it than Grand Final week at home and away. It's fantastic from Summit Point on a Tuesday night. How good's this? From a commentary standpoint, the teams have been blowing up left, right, and centre, Matt Davis, but I don't want to get into the politics of it.
Absolutely mad right now, Zach Cameron. From the commentary and the spectators' point of view, though, what a night of Tuesday night motorsport.
Oh, if you haven't enjoyed tonight, you've very difficult to please.
Oh, that'd be very difficult. I mean, we've had engine meltdowns, we've had massive racing incidents, cars going off the field, safety car, strategy, comebacks of the night, championship defining moments. I think we've had everything that you could possibly want in the season, Zach Caven. You've got it at Summit Point.
Oh, exactly. Now, here's the other thing as well. Melbourne Hydrographics Depot commenting, go Team Phoenix. Paul Nichols sledging me because home and away just had to come up. Yes, we are getting excited with the commentary, but when don't we on a Tuesday night? There's also obviously a few people saying, can we get a happy birthday for David Coleman? I think that's about the 14th shout out he's had, but happy birthday to him again. And also good run from Jamie Dyke with the G27. It's been highlighted yet again as well. No doubt he will be happy with that. A good fight back into P8. Leonage is P12, having displaced Craig Schultz, Hobbs, Sebra, and Scholes the targets now. But he's running out of time, Matt Davis. He's only got this and 3 laps to go. So we'll wait and see.
Dean Reddit in 5th position. What a drive by this man right here, my co-commentator. on screen right now, trying to hold off Justin Pennefather, who's had another superb drive himself. And Dean Alessi, the biggest mover inside the top 10, up 15 positions that came in. That is an extraordinary drive by that man. Huge drive. That's going to be his best finish of the season.
Yeah, and he's the biggest mover of the night, despite being displaced by Jamie Dyke right there. Jamie Dyke is into lucky 7. Have a look at that. So Dean Alessi still has the most positions gained with 14, but it just doesn't look as impressive as 15. Jamie Dyke up into 7th and only 1.7 seconds away from
Leonage in the back.
Covered off there as well. That's a big block from Lindsay Hobbs, if you don't mind. The elbows are out and they're battling outside the top 10. That's why you can't take your eyes off the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries, ladies and gentlemen, because it doesn't matter where they are on circuit, they're fighting as though it's $1 million on the line at the front of the field. It's fantastic. 2.5 to go. Mcnamara clear of Borg. 1.2 the margin. Dylan Rudd another 3 seconds back. Now, it hasn't been the greatest night at the office for Dylan Rudd, but third is as good as a win for him at this point. Coleman, Reddit, Pennefather, and Jamie Dyke in 7th. Dean Alessi, Matthew Scholes, and Rick Sibra make up the top 10. We're watching Scholes, Sibra, Hobbs, and Leonage at this point in time, and Leonage desperately trying to find a way by Lindsay Hobbs. 2 laps to go when they cross the line this time. Sean McNamara is heading for another win. The 9.5 Sim Sport stable hitting their straps on the right end of the season. And, oh, they are going to be a force to be reckoned with when we get to the mountain. Here's Leonage down on the inside. Is this the P11 on Lindsay Hobbs? Yes, it is. But can he hold it? Yes, he can.
Hobbs.
Hobbs is going to fight all he can now. Leonage, does he put one on the outside like he did earlier in the night? No. Hobbs covers him off. Hobbs holds on to 11 for the moment. Leonage desperately trying to take another 2 points out of the deficit that Sean McNamara is erasing at this point in time. Whoa!
Oh, super wide. That's a place to Leonage.
There's 2 points for Rehan Leonage. Sean McNamara starts the last lap. At this point in time, he's going to take 20 points out of the points advantage that Rehan Leonage enjoyed coming into this round. But it's not going to be enough to displace him at the top end of the championship. On an extraordinary night, Sean McNamara is going to walk away with a victory at Summit Point, provided that Brian Borg doesn't have one last sting in the tail. Matthew Scholes in pit lane. We've got our eyes on Leonage all over the back of Lindsay Hobbs. He's into 10th. Is he going to
hold the outside? He has to hold the outside.
No, he's not. But he's got to be mindful of Craig Schultz. He's looking for the run, all right. Have a look at this. Not able to get it this time.
If he gets Lindsay Hobbs, he's got the 1 bonus point from the pole position, Zach Caben.
Correct. And what an extraordinary drive from Lindsay Hobbs as well. What an extraordinary drive from Lindsay Hobbs to withstand the pressure. But what a great performance from this guy at the front end of the town. Oh, puts himself right back in the hunt with victory in the Summit Point 160 in one of the most pressure cooker nights we've ever had in the office. Second will go to Borg, third to Rudd, fourth will go to Coleman, fifth for Dean Reddit. What about that? But keep your eyes on this young bloke. Rehan Leonage into the last corner. It's still going to be a top 10 from nowhere, but that's all it's going to be. Across the line they go. And Leonage misses out by 0.06 of a second. So, the damage in all of that, it was 27 points at the start of the race. It's going to be 18 gained by McNamara. We don't know who's got a clean races yet. So, I mean, crunch the numbers. 9 is the minimum, or the maximum, I should say. It could be 4 if McNamara has managed to get himself a clean race. What a night. I'm out of breath. I don't know how you're feeling, Matt Davis, but if this is what the Super Series can serve up, I can't wait to see what you guys have in store for us tomorrow night.
Oh, mate, trying to nurse a crook back right now, and the excitement trying to not bounce out of my chair at the screen at the amount of excitement that's going on. McNamara takes the win. Does he have a clean race? I don't know. My head's hurting. Your head's hurting from doing the mathematics. Now, both our heads are hurting. I reckon there's going to be a headache after this. A nice cold beer is going to be well needed. That is for sure. Leonage with the drive of the night, I'm going to say, or the comeback of the night, fighting all his way back from a lap down in last position. Mcnamara comes across the line to start his victory burnout. We'll let you enjoy that, ladies and gentlemen. Zach and I quickly decipher what's happened tonight. Leonage, a lap down, last position, back to 10th position after his teammate Dylan Pereira blew a motor. Then you've got Jamie Dyke, who also came back from last position, back into 7th position. He's going to rectify his championship points just a little bit and play a little bit damage prevention. Lindsay Hobbs, most positions gained for the night, up 15 positions. Him and Dean Alessi, both fantastic drives of the night. Dean Reddit, Justin Pennefather, both inside the top 10. The birthday man, Dave Coleman, 4th position. Drive by him as well. He started all the way back down in 8th, just inside the top 10 there. Summit Point Raceway is okay. I'm going to say it again. It's really earned it on tonight. And I'm excited to see what tomorrow night does.
2 saves there. One from Jamie Dyke after his blunder on lap 1. One from Rehan Leonage after being towed through no fault of his own. And that's the analysis in all of that. 6 Holdens, 4 Fords in the top 10. Mcnamara from Borg, Rudd, Coleman, Reddit, and Pennefather, with Dyke, Alessi, Hobbs, and Leonage making up the top 10. 27 seconds is all that Leonage was off the tail of Mcnamara in the end. Sure, up by the safety car, but it was looking a lot worse than that at the midway point. Craig Schultz, 11th, it was 5 and 5. The even split between Ford and Holden, 11 to 20. Schultz, Davis, Norris, Good, and Sibra. Before Nash, Kirby, Crisdale, Morris, and Bailey made up the top 20 there. And then we'll go across the page one more time. 21st for Matty Scholes, then Chris Barnes, Michael Angus, and that's that as far as the finishes were concerned. 23 out of the 24 home. Dylan Pereira, a DNF. Bruce Tunnick, a non-starter. Lee Davis got a Guernsey with the safety car on a couple of occasions tonight in the pre-race, in the driver's briefing. And then, of course, he got that one couple of hot laps on the circuit during the race itself. Dylan Pereira, the only retirement in all that. 23 cars home, all on the lead lap. What a night we've had in Summit Point, in West Virginia, in America. Our final American round of the season. We're off to the United Kingdom next week. But by gee, that round has really just ignited the fireworks here.
Definitely has, hasn't it? As Mcnamara, Rudd join us in the booth, waiting for Borgie to come in as well. And that'll be the podium, ladies and gentlemen. Mcnamara, Borg, Rudd, the podium for tonight.
I'm really interested to get the thoughts of Mcnamara and Borg because they had the best seat in the house. And I'm interested equally to get some comments from Dylan Rudd here. And we'll get stuck into that in just a moment. But can I alert your attention to what's coming up as well, ladies and gentlemen? Next week, Donington Park, the national layout, so the short circuit there. And we'll get stuck into that on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time on Tuesday night. Then the week after, same time, actually, we'll go 5 minutes earlier. It'll be 8:15 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. A 15-minute lead into our coverage of qualifying, 1 hour session of the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000, which will be followed by a post-qualifying debrief and a race preview of sorts, and we are looking forward to that. Now, we're about to lose Matt Davis at this point in time. We mentioned earlier that his back's absolutely giving him plenty at this point in time, so he's going to go and rest that. Final thoughts from you, mates, and obviously we're looking forward to tomorrow night as much as you are, but final thoughts in all of that. It's going to be spoken about for a while. If you're not going to give your driver of the night to Jamie Dyke and Rehan Leonage, I think your old teammate, Dean Reddit, might deserve the Guernsey. He was in the top 5.
Yeah, thoughts of tonight's race? Speechless. That's all I'm going to say. Speechless with a absolutely blinding headache. My lordy, what a race tonight put on. Big congratulations to Sean Mcnamara, Brian Borg, and Dylan Rudd on the podium. Driver of the night, I'm going to give it to Dean Alessi from Middle Finger Racing. Going to give it to Dean Alessi. Yeah. He's up 14 positions. And closely followed by Lindsay Hobbs, I'm going to say. It's they both had a stellar race, but Dean Alessi finishing the highest he's finished all season from the top of my head, from memory, if that serves me correct. I think it's the highest he's finished, along with Lindsay Hobbs. But definitely Dean Alessi, he had a stellar drive. He played the strategy great all night long. And then obviously comeback of the night, it's going to be tied out between Dyke and Leonage. I mean, both of them played the strategy correct. Leonage with a bigger comeback, though, 1 lap down managed to fight it back, got the safety car, and it played into his hands from there on. Managed to play a little bit of damage prevention to Sean Mcnamara on the championship standing saga area there. But Ice Balls are tomorrow night. Super 2 E-Series brought to you by DSL Welding Services on the platforms of Simshed Broadcasting. Zach Cabin. Dave Reddit, my co-commentator, will be joining me for that one, no doubt, if he's survived tonight and he doesn't pull up too sore tomorrow, because
that's exactly right.
could imagine how difficult it is to get around one of these in a 650 horsepower V8 supercar. So no, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, not Standard. We're not Queensland, ladies and gentlemen. We are Victoria down here, and mind you, I'm just going to put it out there as well. It's been 25 and humid, and I'm wearing a singlet and shorts. It's the best weather we've had for quite some time down here.
I was going to say it's probably the best weather you've ever had in Victoria, but even when it's raining, it's humid up here. We can't catch a break with the humidity. But anyway, in saying all that, mate, thank you for your efforts throughout the course of the evening. Looking forward to doing it again next week. We're only, 19 days now away from the big one, and that is going to be a huge day at the office. And if it has any level of the intensity that tonight had, we're going to be out of voice on Sunday, December 12th.
No, it certainly is, mate. Well, mate, look, all the best for a nice short post-race. I know you don't do short, but let's see if we can get a short one out from you tonight. I'm going to go for 10 past 10.
I was going to say I'm an instruction to get out of here early.
There we go.
We'll wait and see. Hey, and the radio studio might not mind it on the electricity front. I'll get out of here and save them a bit too. Hey, good on you, mate. Thank you. Take it easy. Let's move into the post-race show here. Sean Mcnamara, another victory. What is it about you and races on American soil that, they're fraught with danger, these racetracks? You cleaned up at Long Beach, fraught with danger because of the concrete walls. You cleaned up at Summit Point because, let's face it, the seas parted for your Moses-type championship moment there. And we'll get to that in just a moment because Dylan Rudd's standing by as well. But Summit Point, known for being a tight racetrack and difficult, and you've mastered that as well, mate. You are right back in the championship hunt. I can only imagine how delighted you are.
Yeah, look, really happy. Not obviously it's not the way you want to be in the hunt with Rihan and Dylan having that little incident there, but no, look, really happy with the night, and got the undercut on Borg. Was just saving fuel. I think him and I were both just sitting there for that first stint, just happy to save a bit of fuel and let the boys battle at the front. But look, really happy night, and got a clean race as well. So sort of converted as best as I could without a pole. So happy with that.
Just an interesting observation from my standpoint for anyone watching at home. Had we gone racing relative to sim time and Australian Eastern Daylight Time, it would have been 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. That would have been one hell of a way to wake up on a Wednesday morning, let me tell you. My goodness gracious me. Hey, Sean, you had the best seat in the house there for a while. And obviously, you're very lucky that when the incident unfolded, they went left, because if they went right, it could have caught you and Borgie up in it as well.
Yes, spot on. I was in behind Borgie, so I didn't catch the full view, but Rihan was going pretty defensive every lap, and it's one of these tracks, I guess, where if you want to defend, someone's got to try and get you around the outside. And I won't comment on that race control, but I mean they called it. But I guess my first concern, as I said to Dylan, was did Rihan end up in the abyss? Because obviously that was going to cost him, but it was good to see he still got back to 10th regardless. But a bit hard. It was a bit hard to see where I was, but it was certainly a lot of hard racing going at the front.
Yeah, there certainly was very hard racing indeed. The elbows were, and it was interesting because we were only talking last week, mate, about how for the first stint you guys somewhat settle into a rhythm. The elbows aren't out too much. Something changed. Something different was in the water tonight because the elbows were out very early on.
I think there's really one spot to pass, and that's into turn one. And if you take away that opportunity every time, it gets a little bit more racy, so to speak. If you have someone with a bit of pace who wants to get through, so like I said, I think I can't speak for Borgie, but certainly I was just happy to sit there and save a bit of fuel, get through that first stint. Kind of what you said, what we've been doing the past few weeks, and just unfortunate it was a tangle at the front.
Now, there's only one safety car. I think that surprised some of us as well. Let's be perfectly honest here. in saying that, it didn't allow anyone the opportunity to save enough fuel to not make that a two-stop race. So
Yeah.
you had very much the luxury of being able to call the shots here and write your own script in terms of, well, having the clean air in front of you for most of that second stint and beyond. Once the incident unfolded between Rehan and also Dylan, Borgie led there for a little while. You pipped him on that first round of pit stops, and then all of a sudden, you know, it was your race to lose.
Yep.
So what was the strategy plan from your perspective, mate? Did you take tyres first or second stop? I'm thinking second, but I want you to confirm it for me.
Yeah, 100% second. Same to Dylan through that whole first stint. I guess because I was just sitting there pretty comfortable behind. Really didn't use a lot of tyre in the first stint. And even after the first stop, tyres were still good. Saved enough fuel to be able to jump Borgie, and yeah, tyres hung on. And I sort of had 1.7 over Borg, and I was tempted to pit, and he stayed out. I thought, well, if I've got 1.7, that'll save me the undercut. And I got out to 2 seconds. He pitted, and I jumped in the next lap and grabbed tyres. But yeah, it's just a side note though. Like, we had 24 cars tonight, and 23 finished on the lead lap on a track that's only a minute 10. So. Didn't really encounter any lap traffic, which we thought we would. So it's just goes to show how close everyone is, and that's epic for everyone. So round of applause to everyone, I believe.
Yeah. To be fair, I think the safety car has helped everyone in that regard with the lap traffic front and taken away a talking point, which, you know, saves me 5 minutes of this broadcast and everybody else as well. But in saying that, let me come back to you, mate, because there's obviously a bit more to explore here. Once we have a look at who's netted a clean race, who hasn't, what that does for the championship as well, and what the deficit and the margin is between you and Rehan. You're taking a big chunk out of it. Not all, but it's certainly going to be a lot tighter for comfort than it otherwise might have been. And I think, to be fair as well, both Rehan Leonage and Jamie Dyke are thankful for that safety car, in the sense that in some way, shape or form, it has helped them with their pursuit to get back into the top 10 and salvage as much as they can, damage control as best they can throughout the course of this race. Let's move on to Brian Borg here, and I'll save Dylan for last, being third across the line. Borgie, you're making a regular appearance in the post-race show at the back end of the season. You're hitting your straps, you're finding some form. It's good to see. Again, a good night at the office. Could have been a little bit better had you not been pipped by Mcnamara in that round of pit stops. Just talk us through the night from your perspective, mate. That was a nice drive.
Yeah, obviously got to a good start and just fell in behind Dylan. And, you know, I could see, like what Sean said about Rehan. Look, I hate the word defending, because you got to do that at this track, you know, that's the only passing point that you can really get it done. But like what Dylan did do, he went around the outside, and I guess I did have the best seat. And yeah, I definitely felt like it was a racing incident. I wouldn't say that it was on purpose or anything like that. It was a racing incident. So, yeah. But yeah, in the pit stop, I'm just sharing the love. You know, Sean last week missed his marker, and I did the same in the pit stop this one. So I'm just sharing the love.
Hey, to be fair, mate, we didn't see you miss your marker, so you didn't have to own up to that. I love sim racing. These drivers seem to be of the opposite variety to the real world. The real world, they won't own up to their mistakes. These sim guys openly dob themselves in. I absolutely love it. Hey, Borgie, apart from that, solid performance, good haul of points, confidence booster, because at the end of the day, whilst you're out of championship contention, all roads lead to Bathurst, and that's surely your focus from here.
And I don't honestly think we're out of championship contention. I still think there's a lot to play in the championship. Anything can happen. We've seen it. I think I should be under the 200 gap. I'm not sure. I've got to crunch the numbers, but
well, to be fair, no, you've got a point. You're still in championship contention when you take into consideration that Bathurst is double points, but you need a lot to fall your way, don't you?
Oh, definitely. And anything can happen. Like tonight, you know, that was a championship leader who went into space, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly right. Let's set about that one the better. However, I'll come back to you in just a moment, Borgie. We are going to try and wrap this up a little bit quicker than usual tonight, boys. There's a lot to talk about off air, but in saying all of that, let's bring in Dylan Rudd at this point in time. As soon as we saw Jamie Dyke fall off the circuit, we knew that was going to be of benefit to you in terms of trying to claw back that deficit that you lost by not being here for Long Beach, mate, to then obviously be a contender for third outright come season's end. Unfortunately, that safety car helped Dyke out, and you've only taken, I'm going to say, 8 points out of that margin. However, a couple of get out of jail free cards for you tonight, in the sense that Race Control have had quite a few looks at the tape, and they've deemed it racing incidents on 2 counts. First with Rehan Leonage, second with Michael Angus. I want your account of it, please.
Yeah, we'll start with Rehan Leonage. From pretty much the start of the race, he was going fairly deep defensive into T1, which was pretty much only passing opportunity. I felt like I left him enough room on the inside, and yeah, that's all I can really say on that one. And Michael Angus, that was all his fault, really. Just had a tank flapper off the back of my car.
Copy that. Yeah, to be honest, for obvious reasons, we focused more on the incident with Rehan than we didn't have as look at Michael's from as many angles. In saying that, though, no shadow of a doubt that the second one we wholeheartedly agree with. The first one, that's been debated across socials, in commentary, behind the scenes as well. That's going to be one of those moments, mate, that's talked about for the rest of the season. Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a protest put in if certainly if the guys don't agree with what was called. As I said, there's obviously a bit of chatter in the background that people can't hear, but yeah, certainly no intent at all from Dylan, and I'll defend that every day of the week. You're certainly racing him hard. Yeah, there was another incident that brought out the safety car as well that could probably be reviewed, but we'll let that one roll along, and let's hope for a good finish to the season. But I can wholeheartedly say that what happened between Dylan and Rehan was in no way intentional. So.
Dylan, just going back to you for a moment, mate. Let's talk about what you highlighted there. Rehan's defensive approach to turn one, as I said in the call, well within his rights to do it because he wasn't moving from that position. That was the line that he was taking all the way through. Were you guys surprised that he stuck to that right from the start?
Yeah, a little bit. Purely, yeah. Wasn't really expecting him to battle me so hard, since I'm not really fighting for the championship. So I was, a little baffled of how defensive he was every lap. But there was multiple occasions where I was on the outside and there was no contact made for 15 odd laps. So on lap 15, I felt like I left him enough room on the inside to go too wide. But yeah.
And that was the other problem as well. I mean, obviously, when you look at turn 1, turn 3, and probably the last corner as well, they were the only legitimate opportunities that we highlighted in commentary from the outset. There was even a moment where you were up on the inside for 3 and he put one on you on the outside.
Yeah, the other spots are fairly risky move to pull off, so turn 1's really the only safe option to make a clean pass.
All right, let's, at some point in time here, we'll be able to show you the championship standings as well, ladies and gentlemen. And I haven't had it through my earpieces yet, who has had clean races, so we'll hopefully get that information out to you as well. We're not really surprised if that number's very, very low, given it is Summit Point. Sean, tremendous opportunity for you, though, now. How critical is next week in particular to setting things up for a full crack at the mountain? Because now the way we see it, the way we calculate it before having a look at the points definitively and confirmed, it's going to be single digits. So every move from this point forward is so vital.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll come down to Bathurst. We've been saying that for the past few rounds, so we'll play it by ear, and yeah, not much more to say really.
I was going to say, we've been saying for a while since Long Beach, since that clinical drive there, that you seem to be hitting your straps at the right time and just keep an eye on this guy going forward. And sure enough, this has been that season where all the boxes have ticked and everything's lined up nicely for you. It must be satisfying. I mean, yeah, sure, the biggest 2 rounds are still to come. We've got Donington get through, then that 161 laps around that famous mountain. But this is finally a season where things have actually gone right for you.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Certainly, it's been a better season than others, so it's nice to bounce back. To be honest, yeah, that's probably all I've got to say at the moment. Yeah, it is what it is. It's been a great season. That looking forward to closing it out hard, mate.
All right, no worries. Hey, good news for you, Mr. Mcnamara. An extra 5 bonus points to go with your race win tonight. You're just one of several drivers, actually, that got clean races. I'm a little bit surprised at the number here. Brian Borg, David Coleman, Dean Reddit, Justin Pennefather, Lindsay Hobbs, and Sean McNamara, ladies and gentlemen. So count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 24. So 25% of the field walks away with a clean race tonight. And Borgie, you'll take an extra 5 points at this point.
Definitely, mate. We need the championship points. But yeah, how good for the podium. We all share the same sponsor in Racecraft, and I think it's a great show that you guys are putting on, and what we're putting on for our sponsors.
All right, boys. Again, I'm on instruction to wrap things up a little bit earlier than usual tonight, and I don't think anyone's going to complain about that. It's kind of like you're getting the same show, but you're getting 20% off with just as much drama filled in the middle. So you're not getting shortchanged at all tonight, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, this is one of those rounds that we'll talk about for weeks to come. At this point in time, let's get you guys to give us your thoughts on Donington Park, because it's the national circuit, not the Grand Prix layout. From what I've seen of the calendar, we've only got 2 rounds to go. Donington National, so not the Grand Prix circuit. So it's a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter, but equally as critical as the round on the Grand Prix circuit much earlier in the season in one of the different series. Let's get your thoughts on it, Sean McNamara. It's a great little racetrack. Probably better suited to 2-litre stuff, but we'll take the supercars for a spin.
Yeah, I think it's just missing a couple of corners. But yeah, no, it's a good track. A bit of the same sort of thing as Silverstone, where they do the cut tracks and bits and pieces where they don't run the full circuit. You kind of lose a bit of flow, but yeah, it should be good fun. I think it's almost a minute flat track again. It's just yeah, it'll be spicy. Should be a good track.
Indeed, it will be. Brian Borg, you must be looking to continue with the momentum you've started mounting up over the last few weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Just like you said, just one race at a time, and the podiums are good, and that's what gets the points done. So yeah, in Donington, yeah, it's a really good track. I like it. Yeah. But like what Sean said, it's the shorter version of the track, which means that there's going to be really, I reckon there's 2 opportunities for passing cleanly.
Yeah, so it's you get the feeling from what you're saying there, Brian, that it's going to be another one of those follow the leader type nights, and if you're going to make a move, you've got to make it stick.
Yeah, it can be. Yep.
All right. Hey, Dylan Rudd, polar opposite circuit to Bathurst, which is going to be everyone's focus over the next couple of weeks for obvious reasons. But how do you approach Donington Park, and what's a good outcome for you to set things up for a crack at the top 3 and maybe even a top 2, depending upon how things play out over 7 hours on December 12 next week at Donington Park, mate?
I think for me, the focus is really Bathurst. Yeah, Donington, I'll do my best to have a good result. But yeah, I think main focus for now is Bathurst and getting Sean try and get Sean the championship at Bathurst.
All right, and so that's almost a concession on your part that you've now got to play the doting teammate role.
Yeah, I'm too far out of it to have any chance of it. I
The
think.
only way that we could see that changing is if Sean had an absolute shocker next week. Then it'd be a team effort to try and get things back on track. But at this point of the season, everything's going to plan for the 951. Rightio. Dylan, lead us off with some thank yous after what can only be described as a hectic night at the office.
Yeah, just like thank all the guys at 95 Sim Sport, especially Sean for all the work he puts in behind the scenes. Our sponsors, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, Bauer Media, Racing Ears, Custom Ear Protection, 3D Printing Services, Cutting Edge Tracks, and RSW Graphics.
All right, mate. Well done. Congratulations. Third on a big night in the RSRA Goodyear Autocare Warana SuperSeries. Brian Borg, another trip to the podium to this neck of the woods in the post-race show for you. Who have you got to thank for that?
Yeah, same thing. Just like to thank my team, Premier Racing Team, Racecraft Simulations, Advanced Performance Machining, PPG, and TMB Cleaning Kookaburra Cafe. And also, I got to put in, my kids were a little bit upset because I didn't mention the bird last week. So they want me to mention the bird, Ricky. So
Okay.
yes,
What type of bird is Ricky?
it's a cockatiel.
Very nice. Very nice. Well done. They'll be happy that you ticked all the boxes this week, mate. Congratulations. And see, anything to keep the kids happy. It's all about keeping the kids happy. We know that. And as for you, Sean Mcnamara, no doubt a few people to thank as well. Another win in season 3.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Obviously, well done to Dylan, Brian, and everyone tonight. It was pretty good stuff. But obviously, JP and the crew behind the scenes, yourself, Zach, and Matt, and Spirit of Tasmania, even though he hasn't been around. But
not sure where the Spirit of Tasmania is, but we're looking forward to having him back sometime soon.
Indeed. But yeah, look, it's been a bit of a rough week for myself, but it's nice to bounce back tonight. So shout out the sponsors, of course, Racecraft Simulations, SRT Australia, Racing Ears, Custom Ears Protection, Bauer Media, Oakland Solar, Ipswich and Brisbane, Cutting Edge Tracks, and AEDT 3D Printing, RSW Graphics as well. So thank you.
I think we've had enough politics tonight, but thank you very much, by the way, for the ammo that you sent me a couple of weeks ago on the daylight saving front. I do appreciate that.
No worries at all.
All right, let's have a look at the championship points at this point in time, if we can, before we get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of an earlier finish tonight. Have a look at that. Wow. Things just got really tight. 132 separates the top 4, and 4 separates first and second in the RSRA SuperSeries. So good to see after a shocking day myself. I had a headache that could have, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say there. It was a scorcher. It was a shocker. I was lucky to make it to the booth tonight. I'm glad I did, but it's good to see that despite that, the maths are still on point. 4 points the margin, and Jamie Dyke still holds on to third, and he's only, what's that, 49 points away now. Jamie Dyke coming home with a wet sail in the RSRA SuperSeries, as he has done on previous occasions. Then, Dylan Rudd, 1175, so only 83 back from Dyke. Then Brian Borg on 1104. So there you go. Borgie's only 203 points away. Interesting there, to be fair to Brian. He's absolutely right. He's not without a chance here. He needs a couple of things to go his way when we get to Mount Panorama, but he's well and truly in the hunt for a top 5 finish. Then Alessi, 1,076, Craig Schultz, 1,057, and 1,055 for David Kirby. Then 995 for Blake Delaney, 983 for Jared Bailey. Over the page we go. And we remind you that it's Rainer Costello, 11th, to Brian Good, 12th. They're locked on points. Matthew Scholes, 13th. Lindsay Hobbs, Dylan Pereira, Ben Morris, David Nash, David Coleman, Bruce Tunnock, despite the non-start tonight, and Simon Vella in 20th there as well. Now, we'll let that continue to scroll for you here, ladies and gentlemen, as we thank a couple of people from our point of view as well, our perspective here at SimShed Broadcasting. Our broadcasts are made possible by the great people at Goodyear Autocare Warana, with DSL Welding, Dragon R, Steve Blue Stampede, Labour Hire, and special mention also to SDK Gaming and Track Cams for Gourmet. Then a reminder as well that we wouldn't be able to do this series without Goodyear Autocare Warana, who have the special on as follows: 4 for 3 That's the deal at the moment on selected Goodyear tyres. Buy 3, get 1 free on selected Goodyear passenger and 4x4 tyres. And we thank them very much for not just the sponsorship of the series, but also the big event at the end of the season as well, the Goodyear Autocare Warana 1000 from Mount Panorama Bathurst, our virtual edition of Australia's Great Race. And we're really looking forward to that. There's the points scrolling through at the end of your screen there. Only 2 rounds left. Only 2.5 weeks to go. Tuesday night motorsport on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Extraordinary night at the office. There's no doubt about that. Sean McNamara, 9-5 SimSport 1 and 3. Brian Borg sandwiched in the middle, but he'll take that with regards to the championship. Difficult for Jamie Dyke. It didn't start well, but it finished with a good fight back into 7th. And Rehan Leonage, the story of the night, scraping home in 10th after being a lap down. What a get-out-of-jail-free card that will end up being. Now, let's have a look ahead on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Matty Davis said 10 past. He's not going to be far off. The RSRA Super 2E Series for DSL Welding tomorrow night from this same circuit. Let's see if they raise the bar, if they can match the drama, the excitement, the tension that we've seen here across the course of the last hour and 45 minutes. That's from 8:20 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. It's a sprint format. The boys will be in the booth for you, Dean Reddit and Matt Davis from 8:20. And looking forward to that. Of course, the best of the Super 2 pool will be with the Super Series pool for the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000, which will bring you 3 days of coverage of Tuesday, December 7, Saturday, December 11, and Sunday, December 12. More details on that next week. But, of course, reminding you in the meantime that we will have the next round of the RSRA Super Series for Goodyear Autocare Warana next week from Donington National over 51 laps. So exactly the same race distance as tonight in terms of laps from Donington. Next Tuesday, it'll be our last hit out of November, Tuesday, November 30, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. That's it. We're done. You get an early mark tonight. As I say, we've crammed the same amount of excitement and drama and entertainment in to a smaller window than usual, but that's the last time we'll be doing that this season, I promise you, because we go long distance racing in a couple of weeks and we'll have somewhere in the vicinity of 12 to 13 hours of coverage from the Goodyear Autocare Warana Bathurst 1000 week. Looking forward to all your company for that and more on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Hope you've enjoyed round 9. Sean McNamara back in victory lane from Brian Borg and Dylan Rudd. Championship lead belongs to Rehan Leonage by the skin of his teeth. 4 points. The gap, the margin at the moment, game on for the final 2 rounds of the season. Still 450 points up for grabs as far as race wins are concerned. Throw in 2 for, it might be 3 because if the double points thing carries over, it'll be 2 points for Pilot Bathurst. So there's 3. And then 15 for clean races. So what's that? 468 points still up for grabs in this championship. Anyone's for the taking, but our focus is the top 2. It's Leonage versus McNamara, but not Lassif this time. Rehan. See you next week, everybody, on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting and Tuesday Night Motorsport when we head to Donington. The US leg done, off to Europe, then to the mountain. That's the way we do it. Game over.